So my story, I guess, begins before me. My story begins with my grandmother and grandfather, because they're the ones who came to the UK first. They came from Morocco, from a small town called back in 1971, 1972. And so they've lived here for 50 years now, which is more than most of their life now, majority of their life. So my mother, aunties, uncles, everybody was born here in London, in Westminster. And from then in 1999, I came along and I was born again in Westminster, just down the road in a hospital called St Mary's, which is a very famous hospital, everyone knows it.
It was an exciting moment for me, for my first baby. And I had so much support around me from my family. And Hamza, as he grew, he was an amazing child. And they started to notice how he was quite smart. He would like to play puzzles at such a young age, and he would do really well in them. And then I remember having a discussion with one of his teachers and saying to her, you know, Hamza enjoys his puzzles. She said to me, that's a really good sign. That means he's going to be really intelligent and very smart. So just buy him puzzles. And he then started to want to read as well quite a bit and enjoyed his programs. He had a lovely childhood as he grew up.
وعشت العيشة ديالي كلها هنا في ليستن جرين استيت، والبلوك ادي هنا الحضرة. انا وحنا وموي وجدي وحالي وانتي وانكلز كل شيء ساكن هنا. العيشة ديالنا كلنا حومة مزيانة، حومة قوية، الناس هنا مزيانين، تتفاهموا مع بعضهم. عندنا الناس من كل دولة وبزاف المسلمين، وزعما كنحس الحومة كلها، الاريا كلها بحال هذه كلها الدار ديالي، زعما هذه كلها I feel comfortable. انا عجبني الحال. سلام بابا، how are you؟ كيفك؟ الحمد لله بابا، الحمد لله. الناس هنا مزيانين، يسلموا عليك، زعما it's nice.
When he was going to school, he would go to school, I would pick him up, and then he would go to karate clubs, which I took him to, and he was also registered where I took him to an Arabic school, and he did Arabic for 1 year, which was really good. But then I'm the kind of parents that tell my kids to follow their dreams and do what they're happy. So with all my children, I say, whatever you want to do, I'm always there, I always support you. So that's how I've been with all my children. Well, Hamza's dream is to one day be an MP, inshallah. And we've discussed it, and I say to him always, you know, if that's what you want to do, there should be no boundaries. You should go for your goal.
From a young age أنا دائما بعيت نولي councillor or MP or politician. Always. I say in English, I saw things I wanted to change. I saw things that I wanted to improve in my local area. For me, it was the living conditions, levels of inequality. For me, it didn't fit well. For example, where we are now, Lisson Green, if you go down to St John's Wood or you go down to Marylebone, it's completely different areas in terms of level of wealth and life expectancy and level of education. So you go down to St John's Wood, the life expectancy is 10 years more than someone who lives here. But it's the same postcode, NWA, we all live in the same area. So for me, that's not fair. Why is it that a young person over there, when they're 18, they go to university, they get a job, they're sorted out, but then our young people here in Lisson Green, it's a different scenario and they struggle.
كيف حالك يا أخي؟ كيفك؟ من وين؟ المغرب.
So when I was 16, I said to myself, it's time for change. It's time for me to try and give it a go and see how I can get involved and what can I do for my local area.
Hi there, brother. How are you? You okay? Good, man. Good. Not too bad. Cold. We need to improve the market. I was saying earlier.
Even before I was 16, I normally say 16 is the age I started to get involved in politics and local issues. But really and truly, even before that, even from a young age, maybe 11, 12, 13, I used to always be the person who, I want to know what's happening in my area. So I would always read the local notice board, I would always read the newspaper, I would always try to figure out what's happening in my life, what's happening in the community that I live in. So when I go to school and my friends say to me, oh Hamza, what's happening here, what's happening here? I always wanted to be the one who knows everything, essentially. I wanted to be the person who has the information. And I think that transitioned into wanting to get elected as a councillor, because when I was 16, I said to myself, I'm doing politics for A-levels, I'm in year 12, I've got one more year of school, what am I going to do next? And for me it was, what options are there for me to make a difference? So I said to myself, I'm going to join my local youth council, and that was simply from one day I was sitting there in school, we had a sort of free session, I went on the laptop, I said, local politics, young people, etc. And I found we had a youth council, so I joined the youth council here, and then they were looking for people to stand to an elected position called a youth member of parliament, a youth MP. I did that, I stood, I got selected, and then I got elected. So I was youth MP from February 2016 to February 2017. So I did that for 1 year, and then I said to myself, okay, if I finished being youth MP, I'm going to be 18 soon, I'm going to be an adult. What's the next step? How can I take this further? What things can I actually do to carry on doing what I want to do until I achieve what I want to achieve? So I found out, okay, all the political parties, Conservative, Labour, Lib Dems, etc. I said to myself, which one aligns to me the most? Which one can I relate to? In my case, it was Labour Party. So I joined the Labour Party. They sold themselves better to us than other parties. And where I live has always been a Labour area. So Church Street and Lisson Green has always been a Labour voting area. My family has always voted for Labour. So I guess a little bit of it was that. It was my family voted Labour. So I said to myself, I'm going to join the Labour Party as well, because that's what my family voted for. So I joined the party. I found out how to stand for election, how to be elected as a councillor. I went to lots of different meetings for a good year or so. Then I got selected, and then in 2018 we had the council elections. So at this point I was already at uni in my first year at Goldsmiths doing politics, as well as standing for council. And in 2018 I got elected as a councillor, and at the time I was the youngest councillor ever in Westminster, in the heart of London, in the capital city. Again, this is not something, it's common, it's not common, it really isn't, it's huge. It's the first time ever we've had an 18-year-old elected in Westminster, and I was the only 18-year-old in London at the time as well. So for me it was a huge achievement.
Yeah, I know. It's lovely.
For those of you who don't know, so the city of Westminster is a city within London. So most people, obviously, they know London, they know the UK, they know England, they know London. But within London, there's two cities. There's the city of Westminster and then the city of London. So the city of London is the financial district, they do the business and stuff like that. But the city of Westminster is the heart of London. It's where you have Buckingham Palace, where the monarch lives. It's where you have St James Palace. It's where you have all the royal parks. You have Hyde Park, Regent's Park, St James's Park, and then you have all the embassies, so all the ambassadors and the consulates, they're all in Westminster. You have Parliament, all the government buildings, all in Westminster. We have about 250,000 residents, but during the day that quadruples up to over 1 million people who come into Westminster every day for work or for whatever reason. It's huge, yeah, it's huge. The more you think about it, the weirder it gets, but it's a really big area, and it's in the heart of London. The ward I represent is Queen's Park. So within Queen's Park, it's about, for example, helping people with any housing issues. So if people have any housing issues, we're able to help them. And I've helped lots of people, which I'm and it's sometimes a very big issue, sometimes a very small issue. It can depend on the case and depend on the person. We've helped develop some of the local parks, so introduce different, again, this stuff might sound not big, but it takes time, and to be able to do it is a huge achievement. So for example, if we have a park and we change all the fences, if we have a park and we change the surface and we turn it into like AstroTurf for the kids to play on, so it's football pitch, so it's better. If we're able to do stuff like that, that's a huge achievement. If we're able to give funding to the different youth clubs or the different schools to help them provide the services they need to, that's a big achievement. If we're able to improve the quality of life, as our aim should be as a councillor, then that's brilliant. So that's what we're judged by. We're judged by how well we're able to help residents. So within the last 4 years since I became a councillor, I became a shadow cabinet member, which, because we were in opposition at the time, how the council worked at the time, there were 60 councillors and we had 19 Labour councillors and there were 41 Conservative councillors. So we were in the minority. So we never had the power, we never had a majority power. So I was a shadow cabinet member, which meant I mirrored the actual cabinet member. So I had to scrutinise them really, really closely. In my case, I was responsible for communities. Now, communities is something that's always been close to my heart. I always want to be, as I said before, in order to help my community, I want to find out what's the best way to do that.
You're all right, and it's congestion.
It was very busy. Honestly, managing time was really hard because I'd wake up in the morning, for example, I'd go to my lectures, I'd go down to uni, and my uni was in Lewisham, so it's about 45 minutes, an hour away. I'd go down there and then I'd finish my studies for the day and then come back to this building where we are today and have my council meeting or have the committee meeting. So all the council meetings are in the evening. So they're from 7 p.m. onwards to allow you to work or study or do whatever. So I used to finish uni, finish whatever I was doing and come here and do my meetings downstairs. But I've been in this building since I was 16. And then when I became 18, I applied to university. I went to a university called Goldsmiths, University of London, and I did politics. Once I finished that, I did my master's degree. So I did my MSc in Global Affairs, and that was at King's College, which again is not too far away from where I live, about 20 minutes, half an hour. So running up to the election, so the election was in May 2022, and I remember we were just around the corner in Victoria. It was night, we were watching them count the votes because they count the votes. So the election closes at 10. So everyone goes home, goes to sleep, whereas us, we go there, we sit down, we watch them count until 5 a.m. it was, or 6 a.m. So we were there the whole night trying to figure out who's won, what the result is. And slowly we started to learn that the result was in our favour. We were actually going to win Westminster, we were going to win the council. And then everyone was buzzing, everyone was really happy. We went home, we had a day off on the Friday. We came back on the Saturday, we had our meeting here in this building downstairs, and the leader was giving out different cabinet positions. So he was saying to someone, you're responsible for finance, you're responsible for housing, you're responsible for communities, you're responsible for different things. In my case, I sort of sat there and I thought, oh, what is there for me? I want youth, I want communities, I want something. And then after the leader said to me, Hamza, let me speak to you for a second, let me tell you. I said to him, yeah, sure thing. What's going on? He said to me, I want you to be Lord Mayor.
And the funny thing about it was that we discussed it beforehand. We said, well, what about if you do become Lord Mayor? And then he laughed and said, no, that wouldn't be for me, you know. And I said, well, you never know what might happen. But then when he called me, and then he was surprised, he said to me, Mum, I've become the Right Worshipful Lord Mayor of Westminster. And I screamed and I was so happy, I went tearful. You know, I went tearful, and I remember calling my mum and telling her, and everyone in the family was so happy, and then the whole of the community and everyone in the area was amazed, yeah.
We literally joked about it, and I think she mentioned it, but we literally joked about it the day before. She said to me, oh, imagine they make you Lord Mayor. I said to her, nah, they'll never make me Lord Mayor. They'll never, it won't happen, it's not possible, it's not a thing. And then the day after, they said to me, you're going to be Lord Mayor. And then we had to do a week and a half where we did lots of publicity, let people know I'm going to become Lord Mayor. And then I think it was the 18th of May, I had a full council meeting and I was formally elected, because you have to be elected by the councillors to be Lord Mayor. So I was formally elected by the councillors to be Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much. Always good for your last.
So I first met Hamza when he was our youth MP for Westminster. His passion for our city and for young people in it shone through right from that stage. Obviously, working with us, I helped recruit him to stand for council. He became councillor for Queen's Park in 2018. And then I've seen him grow year on year as an amazing representative of his community and all of our communities across Westminster. We won the council for the first time in May 2022, and I thought Hamza would be absolutely the right person to be the first Lord Mayor of a Labour administration in our city, only the second Labour Lord Mayor in history. And he is our youngest Lord Mayor and the first person from a global majority background and the first Muslim. So it's a series of firsts that he is doing this under a Labour administration. He's done an amazing job on behalf of all of our citizens irrespective of who they voted for. And yeah, he's done our city proud over an amazingly challenging year, from the joys of the Jubilee through to the sad passing of Her Majesty the Queen later last year. And he's representing everything from our city in Westminster Abbey and in Buckingham Palace to the community events across our city, whether that's in local primary schools or events like tonight where we're celebrating Chinese New Year. So hugely proud of Hamza and the work he's doing for our city. I know Hamza, and he'll be getting back stuck into the ward work, helping local people in his community to make a real difference. His passion for young people has always shone through, and I'm sure he'll have an important part to play in shaping our administration's support for young people across our city. And I know he's a hugely important part of our team, Westminster Labour, going forwards.
So in terms of my role as Lord Mayor and the responsibilities I have, my job description essentially says I'm there to represent Westminster. Now, lots of people see me and they say, what does that mean? What does representing Westminster mean? So that means on any local events, any national events, any occasions where someone from the city needs to be represented from the borough, then I'm the person who's there on behalf of Westminster. So sometimes, like we were earlier, we can visit a school and talk to the kids and talk to the young people and tell them what we do and show them the change and show them the robes and let them know what civic life is all about, because that's what I am. I'm the civic head of the council. I'm not the political head because my role is apolitical, so I don't do any of the party political stuff, but I do all the civic work. So that means meeting ambassadors, making sure that embassies are okay and the ambassadors are okay here in Westminster and that they're comfortable, and then meeting community groups and residents association, making sure that if there's anything that we need to do to help them with their stuff, then we're able to do that. We host lots of events here in City Hall in the parlour, so lots of different charity events and support young people and supporting lots of different groups here. So since I became Lord Mayor in May, I've done probably just over 500 events in Westminster, and I think some of those highlights that I have and the achievements that I have, I would say is representing Westminster at the Queen's Jubilee. And I think one of my biggest honours was being able to sit with the royal family. So I was sitting with His Majesty Charles, or at the time he was His Royal Highness, obviously the Prince of Wales. We had now current Prince of Wales, William, obviously, who's next in line for the throne, and then we had George and Charlotte and the other children, and then the rest of the royal family. And I was there sitting with them. So we were sitting down, we were talking like normal. And this is really, again, it's not something that I'm used to as a normal person. You don't get to sit with the royal family and talk to them and have a laugh and be friends and do that sort of thing. But we were able to do that, which is a huge achievement of mine and a huge honour to be able to represent Westminster in doing that. We also went to Her Majesty's funeral, which was in September. Again, that was a huge moment for me and for my family, but also for Westminster. But to be able to attend the funeral with my mother, again, I remember when I sort of went on the news after and spoke to people and did lots of different interviews, one of my biggest highlights was my mother, obviously, who we saw earlier, wears a headscarf. Now, being a lady who wears a headscarf, being at the funeral of Her Majesty the Queen, again, it's not something that would have happened. But I think in previous years, not everyone knew who the Lord Mayor was. Not everyone knew who the local mayor was and Lord Mayor or councillors or anything like that. So for me, it's about the visibility of a Lord Mayor, of how I should be seen, and that people should see me. So I tried to go to as many different areas, local community groups, local community meetings, schools, wherever, libraries, so I could meet people and speak to them and say to them, you know, here I am, what can I do to help out? What can I do to maybe help slowly improve something in your local area?
It's amazing, everyone likes Hamza. Now Hamza is based in Queen's Park, so his main goal is to support the community in Queen's Park. But because he lives in this area, which is Church Street, he gets a lot of the local people that ask him for help and assistance and advice. And Hamza never turns his back on people. He always gives them that support and helps them. And it's just something that's amazing, because a lot of people wouldn't do that. They'll just send you to the next person. But with Hamza, he doesn't. He will try his best to help and support.
So my charity for the year is called the Young Westminster Foundation. So with the Young Westminster Foundation, they're a charity that works with all the youth clubs and all the youth groups in Westminster. So they've been around for 5 years now, and I was there at the beginning. So I was there before they even started off as a charity, when I was doing my youth MP stuff. And I remember interviewing the then chief exec and giving him the role. So I said to myself, when I started, I had to choose a charity. So I said to myself, okay, what's the best charity? What charity do I think is going to do things fairly all over Westminster? Because I find it very hard to choose one particular youth club or one particular youth group. So I said the Young Westminster Foundation, they support all the youth clubs, all the youth groups, let's choose them. But last year they celebrated their 50th anniversary at the National Gallery, and we had Princess Beatrice attend, and it was a huge event with hundreds of people, but it was a huge honour to have her in attendance, because it meant it was a landmark. It was an achievement for us as a charity. We started off from nothing to now having the members of the royal family attend with our charities, with our community groups, with our young people there at the same time.
So I met Hamza in 2017, and actually he interviewed me when I started. Hamza was our intern for that very first summer. And the first piece of work we did was to go out to all young people in Westminster and to ask them what it was like to be a young person in Westminster, what they liked, what they didn't like, and what could be improved. And Hamza led that piece of research over the summer. And at the end of that, he became a trustee. And so really right from the beginning, he has been involved in our work. So you can imagine how delighted we are to see him now as Lord Mayor, and before that to be a councillor. And really he completely understands what the issues are for young people. He is now a patron of the Young Westminster Foundation, and we hope he'll continue that in years to come. And having chosen us as his Charity of the Year, it's really fantastic to have someone who is so well known, not just in Westminster, but in a really local community in Church Street, to be able to support our work.
I think Hamza would make that choice إن شاء الله لما يجي الوقت, يلاقي the right person مناسبة. I'm always happy for Hamza.
Everyone says to me, Hamza, do it now. I said, soon, inshallah, soon. But I try and meet my friends every now and again. I try to go to the cinema. I try to play a bit of football. I like PlayStation. I play lots of PlayStation 5 with my friends and stuff like that in the evenings, but when I can. But my next hobby now is I'm a big enthusiast about cars. So I love my cars. So I just bought a really old car from the 60s, and I want to repair it slowly and repair it and get it out on the road eventually. Everybody asks me, what am I going to do in 10 years? Where do I see myself in 10, 15, 20 years? And for me, I'm not sure. For me, I have an overall ambition, an overall aim, and that's to stay involved in politics and continue trying to help people in any way I can. I've always had my eyes set on, since I was young, to become a Member of Parliament. So I would love to be able to represent Westminster in Parliament, because for me that's the heart of politics. That's, again, just on our doorstep, funnily enough, in Westminster, but that's the heart of politics. That's where things happen, hopefully, on a national scale. So that'll be my dream eventually. But I think for now, for the next couple of years anyway, I want to be able to work with different organisations, different businesses, different youth groups, different young people, to see what I can do to improve the area. And that's the thing with me. It's always about what can I do to improve my local area.